Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the AI InterConnect podcast. I'm your host, Lauren. This podcast brings you direct conversation with founders, operators, and innovators at the intersection of PropTech, FinTech, AI, SaaS, real estate. We don't do pitches, no buzzword, just practical insight from people building what comes next. And we record with leaders across the US, Canada, and beyond. And today I'm speaking with someone who's taking on the inefficiency and privacy risk of online lending. Um, I'm joined by Benjamin Schieken, and the founder and CEO of Fincast. And Fincast is a privacy-first platform helping consumers receive better a mortgage offer without giving away their personal data to lead marketplaces. Benjamin, great to have you on the show.
Thank you, Laurent, so much. I'm very happy to be here. Great to be here.
Wonderful. Okay, then it's pure fintech. It's lending. I don't know if I say something right or info something wrong at the beginning, but let's jump in. Um, let's uh, let's rewind a bit. What's your background, and how did that lead to building Fincast?
Yeah, so it's amazing how the pieces of puzzles often will fit together when you least expect them. But I had been deep into tech startups for most of my career, focused on building, selling, and solving problems for enterprises with SaaS software. And after, helping to grow several companies in various roles, I realized that something that I was personally motivated by was using technology in constructive and productive ways to help people, not just companies. And so in 2018, I had a bit of an aha moment for myself where I wanted to try and curate, find, and invest in the things that could move the needle for the individual. And by complete coincidence, I ended up as a side business with a friend co-launching a mortgage branch in Los Angeles for a national lender out of Cleveland. And kind of the perfect storm happened. When COVID started in 2020 in the US and interest rates dropped, there was this unbelievable, what is called the refi boom. Millions and millions of customers came knocking on lenders' doors trying to refinance mortgages or buy homes with historically low interest rates. And, it gave me this perspective and ultimately awareness of a problem that every single borrower was facing when they were trying to find access and choose the best deal for them. And as an originator that was seeing thousands of transactions and speaking to hundreds of customers and understanding the patterns in the way these things work, I found that these inefficiencies that existed not just for borrowers were impacting lenders from a cost standpoint. And if we could do a very specific thing at a very specific moment in time, we could uncover and unlock an efficiency that would ultimately save both sides a tremendous amount of money, time, resources, and do it in a way that from a values and morals perspective could protect consumers. So we started tinkering with the idea that has now become Fincast. And Fincast is the result of years of experience building technology solutions for companies, years of experience witnessing, assisting, and ultimately seeing how hundreds, if not thousands of people are attempting to go through a mortgage transaction, tracking the regulations and how things were evolving from a mortgage and compliance perspective, and then taking a chance, putting some pen to paper, so to speak, or some fingers to keys and starting to build early stage tech that would transform how people shop for mortgages. And that's what we're focused on.
Okay, I love it. Yeah, that's great. It, okay, then once the idea formed, how did you turn it into a product?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, something that I learned going back over the years and iterations of building startups with partners and with teams is that, it's very easy to get really dialed in on product without understanding problem. And so one of the things that I did first before I started building this into a business, so to speak, is I made sure that I was having a lot of conversations. I made sure that I was asking great questions. In fact, there's a book that someone introduced me to that could be a great resource for someone thinking about, is this product solving a real problem? And it's got a funny title, but it's called The Mom Test. And the mom test helps someone understand the validity and value of the proposed solution that they think is going to address a problem that people have, and figure out, is it in fact valuable? Are people willing to pay for it? And is it something I should be doing right now? So we went through this, process of having conversations with people, and not just consumers from a mortgage perspective, but also lenders. What would help them? What do they fear? What do they think is going to be helpful for their customers? So on and so forth. And then we started doing what we thought was a solution manually. And we did it a bunch of times, just as many times as we could. We ran this process manually until we couldn't do it anymore because it was so time consuming that we finally realized, okay, if we have this process manually built out, where can we start to inject technology, custom tech that would make this process faster, simpler, cheaper? And that's how we started building. So version 1 was totally manual. Version 2 was using third-party off-the-shelf tools that we kind of hacked together to create a semblance of what could be. And then version 3, where we are basically now, is fully custom code with a proprietary user experience that's ultimately creating real-time value. And the truth is, we're just getting started. We have so many exciting things on the roadmap that we're organizing and prioritizing based directly on not just consumer feedback, but consumer data. And I don't mean like who you are and what you look like, et cetera. I'm talking about behavioral data. So how are people using the tool? We think something's going to happen this way, but something else actually happens. So we need to improve, or we need to adjust. And so we're looking at things from an analytical perspective constantly to create the absolute best user experience under the sun to the best of our ability. And that's ultimately how we create the product and ultimately the business.
I love it. And as I can see, a lot of work in front of you with new product. Then explain Fincast in plain terms. What happened when someone upload a loan estimate to your platform?
Yeah. So Fincast is the tool that people can depend on to find out if they're getting a great deal or not. We don't tell people that their lender is good or bad. We don't tell people what to decide. We don't tell people out of the multitude of scenarios that are possible for them what they should choose, but we help them access the information that they're actively missing to make the best decision. And so what Fincast is it's a simple tool that someone can use to upload an offer. And you said it, it's a loan estimate, which is a specific kind of an offer from a mortgage lender at a specific moment in time in the transaction. And our technology is trained to authenticate it, analyze it, anonymize it, and shop it in a reverse auction where a network of vetted and approved high quality lenders can see the offer details, but not the person details. And if they can bid to beat it. And what I mean by that is they make personalized direct to consumer offers that are better than the consumer's current deal if they can, and give the consumer a chance to choose them instead of their current offer. The efficiencies are insane. The results are staggering. I mean, we have seen an average of $52,000 savings per consumer. We have about a 73% success rate, if not a little higher. It's ticking up regularly as we improve things on our end at finding a better deal. And it's not just savings on the life of the loan, which is something that people often ask. It can be savings programmed for closing, meaning cash right now back in your pocket. So we see, for example, someone will Fincast a loan estimate and it has a certain interest rate at a certain cost. And we get bids from lenders for the same interest rate, saving someone $10, $12, $20,000 in costs for the same rate. It's like, why would you ever leave that on the table? We want to make sure people have the choice not to. They can always choose to, but we want to give them the ability to choose not to. And that's the tool people are using to make sure they're getting a great deal.
Awesome. Okay, if I get it right, how does Fincast anonymize borrower data while still enabling lenders to compete?
Yeah, it's a great question. So one of the things that's unique about Fincast is we are a document shopping tool, meaning that it's not just providing information in a form like companies have collected for decades. It's using an actual legitimized document, and the document often has identifiable information on it. And so our technology, as one part of its process, is trained to semantically detect identifiable information and then intelligently choose what should and should not be redacted. It understands based on lender needs from a pricing and product perspective and borrower needs from a privacy perspective intelligently across different document types, what should be removed, what should pass through. And it learns and gets better, not just on the type of data, but the type of document, the construct of the document. It's actually looking at it as if it was a human editor taking a Sharpie marker and going to your document and saying, this tells someone who you are, what you look like, how to reach you. We're going to cross that out. This doesn't. This is good for product. We're going to let that slide. This doesn't. And it's so imagine a human editor just going through and striking through documents, thousands on their desk at a time. We built technology that can do that for a human automatically at scale. And it's just getting better and better.
Wow, I'm impressed. Looks great. What problems um, do you solve that platform like Lending Tree cannot or won't?
Yeah, Lending Tree is a legendary technology, and very tragic timing. The founder and CEO of Lending Tree, a real trailblazer in the space, just tragically and recently passed away within the last couple of weeks. Doug Lebda. He's been a tremendous inspiration for me, and we have to give credit where credit is due. Lending Tree, both from a technology standpoint and an IP standpoint and a process standpoint and a behavioral standpoint and a branding standpoint, have just knocked it out of the park in so many ways. All that being said, there are things that have changed since Lending Tree was created back in 96, 98. The technology and the user experience hasn't necessarily kept up with the user expectations, and the problem that we have found as former mortgage professionals exists for all borrowers. And so the biggest difference between a Lending Tree and a Fincast is Lending Tree is a great tool to use to find good lenders. Fincast is the tool you use to find great deals. And so when you think about the consumer journey, someone can use Lending Tree to start their process and get that offer that they then go to Fincast with and upload to make sure it's a good deal. We're the safety net. We're not the starting point. And what's really interesting about it is Fincast and Lending Tree, or Fincast and any other comparison shopping site, work really well together. But they can't do what the other one does, because fundamentally it disrupts the business model, the value proposition. Why do lenders buy leads on Lending Tree? Because they have a chance to win business. When Lending Tree tries to make it easy for someone to shop someone's offer, those lenders buying leads don't want to continue buying leads. Why does Fincast work? Because it's a separate entity, an independent business that's preserved and protected with its own unique brand image that is distinct and has created to be Fincast solves a pain and answers the question that every borrower asks, whether they use Lending Tree or not. And it's, am I getting a good offer? Is this a good decision? How do I get a little bit of peace of mind or a sense of security that I'm making a good financial choice? That's what Fincast does. That's not what any comparison shopping site does.
Okay. Okay, great to know. And how do you prevent mortgage spam and protect borrower privacy from the start?
Well, first and foremost, like, the product itself is built to anonymize consumer data, right? So from a product standpoint and a technology standpoint, we're investing heavily in the intelligence of the product to detect and redact consumer data that's necessary to protect consumers from spam, and not just spam, but bias, discrimination, invasion of privacy, so on and so forth. Things that have unfortunately been sort of status quo in the industry and have plagued millions of borrowers. In addition to that, from a process and value standpoint, the way that someone uses the Fincast platform allows them to click and choose and control the experience in a proactive way rather than a reactive way, which is what has historically existed from a user experience perspective. And so by default, three things exist. One, our choice and commitment to protecting consumer privacy from a values and ethics standpoint as a business. Two, the way that the platform is ultimately used. And three, the way that the technology is built from a intelligence and AI perspective. Those three things together are cornerstones for how and why Fincast is able to protect consumers' information, privacy, from overpaying, from spam, from discrimination, from bias at scale and at large in every transaction that someone trusts us with. We don't take that privilege lightly. When someone is uploading a financial document to Fincast, for us, it's a big deal. We want to create the best experience possible, and we don't think that the best experience is selling data to the wolves, if you will, and letting people get contacted incessantly. We want to change that, improve that, and be the place that people go to get that great experience.
Okay. Love it. And I mean, there is clearly a balance here between automation and control, and you're building trust by design. Then let's stay on privacy. And for most borrowers, uploading financial data is risky, and they don't even know it. How do you view privacy both from a product and business standpoint?
Yeah, I mean, so it's a great question, and a couple of things come to mind immediately. Number one, from a business standpoint, I believe that a lot of companies collect more information than they need to make good business decisions. And so we are very intentional. And you said something I really like, which is trust by design. We are very intentional about the type of data, sensitive data, that we require and ask people to trust us with when using the Fincast product. And we have pared it down to the bare minimum. So there are certain pieces of data in particular that are incredibly sensitive when paired with other data. Examples in the US are social security number, birth date, things like that. So we right off the bat, unlike a lot of other tools, techs, platform, lenders, etc., don't ask for it. We don't want it because the Fincast value proposition doesn't require it. So we do not collect that data first and foremost. That's like a business choice, right? On the from a product standpoint and the data standpoint, we're designing the experience from a timing standpoint, from a pipeline perspective, from a best-in-class code security. We were talking earlier about cloud servers and things like that. All of this, we're using best-in-class security, encrypted data, privacy-forward practices. Everything is unique to Fincast. Everything is unique to the consumer. And in addition to that, just to be clear, we're not just protecting borrowers, we're also protecting lenders. So we expose intelligence to lenders in a way that is responsible while not violating the privacy of lenders. So lenders get benefit from the Fincast platform, call it network effects, information that they would not otherwise have access to from a product and pricing perspective, from a competitive intelligence perspective, but we're still anonymizing the lender data so that no lender is subject to particular judgment for a competitive, disadvantage, if you will. So we as a belief system and as a product have designed trust and transparency into the product while removing the biases that are associated with, the name of a business or a consumer. And that's just built from day one into the product. It's one of the reasons we created Fincast, in fact.
Great. But what happened to data after the offer process is done?
What happens to which data specifically?
I mean, the one doing, asking for the loan.
Yeah. So
Clients.
there's a lot of data, right? There's data that's
Yeah.
provided to Fincast by the consumer. There's data that's provided to Fincast about the offer. There's data that's provided by lenders when they're reviewing the offers. And all of that is used to refine the intelligence of the product, because one of the future promises that Fincast is making to consumers and lenders is we want to improve the speed and accuracy at which we can provide intelligence and data back to a consumer or a lender. And so this algorithm that we're evolving called the Fincast score is being powered by this data so that even, for example, if you use Fincast as a consumer and no lender has the ability to beat your deal, we can show you in real time compared to other offers like yours that this is a fee to look out for. This is a yellow flag, or this is a red flag, or you're, within range. Like when you go to when you get blood work done and you get your lab results, and you see like a specific test and there's a score and it says low, high, and it's red, yellow, green, yellow, red. As long as your score is within that green range, you're good, right? We call it normal. And so from an algorithmic perspective, a mathematical perspective, we want to refine using that data, not the person data, not who you are and how to contact you and what you look like, but information about the offer to help other consumers make great decisions by telling them that this is normal or this is not, this is high or this is low, and be able to really refine the algorithm to power competitive intelligence in real time for consumers to make great financial decisions. From a consumer contact information standpoint, we try to create as much value as possible. So we send information on how to save money after a transaction, what to do when you're taking on this commitment but something happens catastrophic in your life and you need to make changes. What are your consumer rights? We have had consumers ask us when they can use Fincast for other products. And so being able to notify people that, hey, good news, we just expanded into this product in case you want to use it. We really from a fundamental standpoint, view Fincast as a consumer ally, a consumer friend, a consumer resource. And so the way that we use data and communicate with people is very much in line with that. And we don't take that trust lightly. So we're really responsible in how we protect that data and how we use that data in our business and in our communications.
Yeah, that's great. What have been the biggest product trade-off when privacy is the priority?
To be honest, we don't have trade-offs. I mean, it's part of our product. That's again, when we looked at the way that people navigated this transaction and the decision-making part of this process, and we looked at the problems that arose from the ways that people inherently had to shop their offers, we realized that one of the things that we needed to create was a product to protect privacy. And so, we're not really trading anything. It's part of who we are at our core. It's a reason why we exist. And so in doing so, we're very much in alignment with what consumers want. We not only build product in the spirit of the law from a regulation and compliance perspective, but we build it in the spirit of consumer interest. And I think in doing so, we've got a lot of fans. People are telling other people about Fincast because they feel so protected and secure. And we're really proud of that.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, you have built a system that doesn't just automate but protect, and that's rare. Okay, then mortgage tech is a crowded space, but not much of it's actually trusted. And that friction, what friction have you faced trying to change the process?
Well, I would say that this is probably not the answer you might expect, but what's really interesting about Fincast, and I don't say this word often because I think that in tech, it's become a little buzzy and I think is a little bit misused. But what we have found, not because we think that this is the case, but based on direct experience, is that we're building something that's actually disruptive. And the reason that we say that is not taking the consumer side out of it, because there's inherent demand, latent demand for the product and the solution that we're offering. On the lending side, there's demand. But on the channel distribution side, the companies that could otherwise put Fincast in front of millions of consumers like that are afraid of process change. And what we're offering is process change, specifically process improvement, but to a channel process change. And so I would say that some of the challenge from a product perspective is what we had hoped would be early adopter distribution opportunities for Fincast to consumers through channels is actually more challenging than we initially thought. The good news from a go-to-market perspective is that consumers are demanding Fincast so much that our direct-to-consumer efforts are working really well. And consumers, like I said, there's this network effect, there's this inherent virality. Consumers are telling other people about it at birthday parties we found out about, on Reddit, Facebook groups. And so, we're solving something so painful for someone that they're excited to share that they found a solution. Like back in the day when we were kids, at least, something that, grew rapidly was if you got a mosquito bite as a kid, if you wanted to get it to stop itching, you had to, like, with your fingernail, make an X on it and it would stop itching. I don't know if that worked or not, but it spread like crazy because someone decided that this was a solution to a problem that everyone was having. And funny enough, that's like what Fincast is doing. It's solving a problem that everyone is having. So people are telling other people about it. But what we had hoped is that channels like real estate companies would embrace Fincast and give it to consumers because it protected the consumer. What we found is that real estate companies are afraid of that change in many cases, are not so early and easy to adopt behavioral changes and improvements. And so, that's going to be a little bit of a longer journey. We have some early adopters there, which are great, but at the end of the day, as long as the consumer demands a solution to the problem and counts Fincast as a viable solution, we're in a good position. But I'd say from a product standpoint, we don't really have many challenges on the product and tech side. We're extremely strong from a team standpoint there. We've done this enough times and we know the subject matter really, really well. From a distribution perspective through channels, it's been interesting to see how much of a disruptor people think we are. And, I wear that as a badge of honor, if I'm being honest. But that's a challenge that we uncovered from a product evolution perspective.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Have lenders pushed back on the transparency?
Lenders, it's funny. So, a lot of tech is built for lenders from people and by people that were never a lender. And I think that that's what has given me not only great perspective on the why behind Fincast and the how, but it's why lenders are coming to us. So we have lenders applying to be part of Fincast that go through our extensive vetting process all the time. We don't approve every lender. We're extremely meticulous and scrutinous around which lenders and why and how they get approved for Fincast based on the quality standards that we're setting from a user experience standpoint. That being said, at this point in Fincast journey, the transparency that Fincast creates for consumers is not embraced as a tool or competitive advantage proactively by lenders yet. There is a world in the future where it may be. As a former lender, it's hard to get your offer shopped. It's not great feeling to lose business when you worked hard to give someone some support, but at what cost to the consumer? And if you're in business and you care about consumers, it's really important to help consumers make the right financial decision that's unique to each consumer. But what we're trying to do for lenders is make it easier to win the right business, not hope that you win the wrong business. And unfortunately today, without Fincast, every lender is hoping that their deals close, even if they're not the right deal for the consumer. And we don't think that's good for lenders, and we don't think that's good for borrowers. And so, Fincast makes it easy for lenders to win deals on their terms when they're their best deal. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah, that's great. And about customers or users, do they need education to understand that they are avoiding, what they're avoiding by choosing Fincast?
So 2 parts to that question. One is, do they need education? And the second is, what are they avoiding, so to speak, by choosing Fincast? I don't necessarily think that they're avoiding anything by choosing Fincast. I think that they're being empowered. I think that, if we want to phrase it in such a way, like, what are they avoiding? They're avoiding the possibility that they make a bad financial decision. That's what they're avoiding when they use Fincast. As far as the first part of the question, there's a world of education needed. And it's a part of what we see in our analytics, like where, people have been taught to shop the wrong way for this transaction or less effective ways. So some of the education that we create, some of the way that the product guides people through the process is inherently educating them. It's empowering them. It's leveling them up to be a highly effective consumer. We're not talking about a small transaction here, right? This is not shopping for a new t-shirt or a new pair of sneakers or even a TV. You're talking about an average loan amount of around $500,000. This is a big deal and something people are locking themselves into. You don't have to stay in it for the life of the loan, but you're talking about, for the most part, 30-year loans. It's important to be an effective consumer, to be an informed consumer, to be an empowered consumer. And so the education creates knowledge, the knowledge creates power, and Fincast makes it possible to act with that power to get to a good decision.
That's great. And on the company side, what has been the hardest part of go to market?
Yeah, I think it's two things. One is what I shared a little bit earlier about, some of the friction that exists when you're disrupting something. Companies are resistant to change. And change brings about uncertainty. Uncertainty brings about risk. Risk brings about fear. And people don't like fear. And companies don't like fear. Fear is not good for the bottom line. When fear gets embraced is when companies feel that they're being left behind or when risk is managed. And so as we continue to evolve and prove data and get our early adopters from a channel distribution standpoint, we feel confident that we'll win more and more because it's what the consumer deserves and the consumer demands. And businesses want to be in line with what consumers expect. There's a legitimate tipping point that will happen there. I would say that, another challenge is, going fast enough. We see so much opportunity ahead of us. We have an incredibly exciting and clear product roadmap, business roadmap. It's hard to move fast enough without, getting distracted. We look at this particular product as our beachhead, but we already understand the value of expanding beyond this product and the value of expanding beyond the the transaction that we're focused on. There's so much demand for what we're doing beyond what we're actively doing, and it's very exciting for us. But we have to temper our expectations and work responsibly on our roadmap to build value and create data and create and invest our resources responsibly. The other challenge is honestly what we're doing is not sexy. And so to outsiders who don't really understand the nuance of this, frankly, the value of this, it's not sexy. AI is sexy from a generative AI perspective. Rappers are sexy, like the ChatGPT rappers. Prior to that, you had, you know, blockchain and crypto and metaverse and NFTs and all these sexy things that from an outside resource perspective, people were throwing a lot of dollars at. We're talking about something very unsexy. Why are we doing that? Because we're building a painkiller, not a vitamin. And I view a lot of the sexy sort of exciting opportunities that people are focused on and investing in without judgment. I view a lot of them as like vitamins. They're nice to have. Do they have the staying power? And I really look at Fincast as like a fundamental shift in how people shop for important financial products online for the next 50 years. This is something we're building to last. And so it's not sexy, but it's here for a long time. And it's solving a real problem like a painkiller does rather than a vitamin. So it's both a challenge, but it's also what motivates us.
Sexy, not sexy. This is a huge market, mortgages. And as you say, it's here to last. And it's wonderful. So many things we can do with these markets.
Absolutely.
And you're navigating an industry where speed sells, but privacy win long term, and you know that. What's next for Fincast in the next 6 to 12 months, or a little bit more?
Yeah, we have a lot of exciting things on the roadmap. Gosh, it's hard to think 6 to 12 months all the time when we're so focused on the next couple weeks with so many things that we have in the pipeline. But right now, we have some really exciting things that we're launching. So we have some very exciting new product features that are coming out that are going to create more real-time education, more real-time knowledge, more real-time power for people. We have partnerships with partners that are going to be helping Fincast realize its mission of being infrastructure, not just a consumer tool and brand, which it is, but people are going to be able to Fincast their loan estimates on partner sites powered by Fincast and sort of increase the distribution points and access points of Fincast across a multitude of high quality partners so that people can realize the value of Fincast, which is make great financial decisions wherever they are. That's something very exciting. We just, are figuring out not so much from a product standpoint, but how do we help tell people's stories, their successes, how they solved the problem that they were having and, why it's important for other people to understand that they don't need to suffer anymore. So figuring out how to amplify the advocates. Excuse me. From a product standpoint, if we really do look 6 to 12 months out, there are some very exciting things there. We, from a business model standpoint, have subscription products that will be launching from a competitive intelligence perspective for lenders. We have really exciting products for a whole different user of the platform, actually, which is a capital markets team within a lender and how they ultimately are trying to maximize something called gain on sale rather than like minimize origination costs. Like there's really two different business objectives that lenders often have. And right now we're really focused on powering, one of them, which is stakeholder on the origination side. But we have really exciting opportunities, conversations, and roadmap to power problem solving on the capital market side as well, in terms of operationally standardizing the ability to maximize gain on sale, which is great. And, we already have consumers that, like I mentioned maybe before, are asking us, can they Fincast their auto loans? Can they Fincast their student loans? And so we definitely expect to be expanding beyond mortgage into other financial transactions where consumers are inherently disadvantaged, struggling to make a great choice, and looking for a tool like Fincast that can solve that problem, that can tell them, yes, this is a great deal, or, hey, Laurent, we found you better offers. These are real deals personalized for you right now that you can select to save you money, make a great financial choice, click the one you like. And that's really the promise of FinCast going forward. Is it's not just for mortgage, it's for all of life's most important financial choices.
Yeah, love it. That's wonderful. What trend do you think will define lending tech or real estate fintech in 2025 or 2026?
What trend will define it? Is that what I said? I
What
think,
trend do you think will define lending tech?
yeah, I mean, I think that FinCast has an opportunity to define lending tech in 2026. I mean, fundamentally, we're changing how lenders precisely originate products. Traditionally, it's a spray and pray model that is inherently disadvantaging thousands of long tail lenders that offer great service, products, and pricing, but can't afford to reach consumers through speed to lead tactics, competitive markets, etc. I think the way that consumers are finding lenders is evolving. Google is evolving as a search engine. Search engines are becoming more expansive across TikTok and Pinterest and Reddit and communities and things like that. So the way that lenders are being discovered is changing. When you look at some of the like lending trends for 2026, lead gen is one of them. Actually, where are leads coming in? I think that the way that lenders and real estate companies are becoming much more closely intertwined is going to change how lenders that are not intertwined with a real estate company compete. We're actually excited to empower this massive long tail of lenders to have a fair shot at winning a deal because they have a great product and price. Right now, they're just inherently disadvantaged. And so I think that that's a trend, but it's hard to know what the future holds. I think that there's been some recent data to come out around like the proposed origination volume for 2026, and it looks better than expected, which is great. It's going to keep a lot of lenders happy. I think that Again, I think that from a lending tech standpoint, it's not so much like how does lending happen? Obviously, there's a lot of improvements in how do we, improve automated underwriting, automated processing, things like that. There's a lot of stuff happening there. Automated e-closing. Those are things that we don't really focus on at FinCast, but I'm aware of them from an industry evolution standpoint. But I think the biggest thing that's going to change from a lending tech standpoint, it's not limited to lending tech, but I think this is the biggest thing is how consumers research and make choices about lenders' products and offers is evolving rapidly. They're turning to AI tools to give them answers. And FinCast is an AI tool that helps someone make that decision, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to search for great lenders in New York and ChatGPT or use Perplexity to do it or Claude or whatever tool of choice that they are using or Grok, wherever they are, how they find lenders, the trust that's created through AI search, product understanding, product verification. I think that consumers are going to be far smarter than they have been when navigating the options that exist because of AI than ever before. I think that the service level that loan officers and originators will have to bring to the table, the bar is being set much higher because of that. And the technology is going to have to support efficiencies because of the service level that lenders created for less educated borrowers is sort of dissipating as the amount of less educated borrowers there are changes. And I think that there will be more educated borrowers at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's great. So much insight. And Benjamin, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Thanks for joining and sharing how Fincast is rethinking trust and competition in lending. Where
Pleasure
can
to be
listener
here.
go? Yeah, thank you. Where can listener go if they want to learn more about yourself or try Fincast?
Yeah, so you're welcome to, find me on LinkedIn, Benjamin Schieken on LinkedIn or Fincast. Our website is gofincast.com. And people are welcome to check out our site. We have some great educational resources. If you happen to be in the market for a mortgage, I definitely encourage you to use the tool. I don't think we mentioned this before, but to be totally clear, it's a completely free tool for consumers. There's literally no downside. And so we encourage everyone as like a step in the process as a best practice to check your offer. Make sure it's a good deal. Fincast it. And so feel free to do that at gofincast.com. Feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, Benjamin Schieken, or on Twitter or X as they now call it, Jay Scheik. And yeah, appreciate the support, Laurent, and thanks for having me on the podcast.
It has been a great conversation. Thank you so much. And let's do it in a year from now and see what happened.
Sounds
How
good.
big you grow. Thanks. It was great. Thank
Sounds
you for your
great.
time.
Thank,
Wonderful.
thank you.
And that's it for today's episode of AI InterConnect. And if you enjoyed it, share it with someone who's building the future, or better yet, someone who should be. And until next time, stay curious, stay creative, and keep building. Thank you. Thank you, Benj.
Thank you.